Thinking the earth is flat should be seen as a mental illness. Flat earthers tell you to look at their evidence whilst refusing to look at it, calling yours fake. I think there should be a clinic to help them, because I genuinely think there's something wrong with them. This isn't just a different belief, it's pure stubbornness. In fact, if these clinics were real, they could help out other people like anti-V people who are killing their own children, along with racists. Edit, please. No more religious and slippery slope comments. There's nothing you can say that hasn't already been said. Classifying flat earthers as mentally ill people is disrespectful to mentally ill people. Okay, let's just classify them as mentally ill people. How about mentally flat? Or inattentively aware? Idiots, the earth is a 4-dimensional hypercube SMH. Wrong. Earth is 3D Koei Wafune-chan. I'd gladly walk off the edge of their flat earth if they wanna walk into the core of my spherical earth. Let's see who wins the bet. Who said there was an edge? Isn't the edge in Antarctica? Isn't the edge in U2? While I can understand where you're coming from, saying that people who refuse to look at proof that the earth is round have a mental illness can actually harm the perception of real mental illnesses. It belittles the major effect they can have on people's lives. Flat earthers don't suffer from delusions that aren't their fault as a result of a chemical brain imbalance, but because they are stubborn and refuse to listen to fact. They're ignorant and or arrogant, but not delusional or mentally ill. For many flat earthers, the flat earth belief is only one component of a coordinated global secret society working to control the masses and work against the true Christian faith. Or just play Mad Libs with that sentence. Extreme paranoia, denial of fact, obsession, and blind faith in ideas not grounded in reality. That sure sounds like mental illness to me. I wonder how many believers of conspiracy theories simply want to seem special for believing something that most people reject. They desperately want to be the person who is smart enough to see through the lies. We've seen the crazy stuff people will do just to prove to themselves and others that they're smart / unique / whatever. And yet, that still isn't quite enough for a mental illness, although it is crazy. I was speaking more about the paranoia end of it that fuels this sort of stuff. Often coupled with some comorbidity, schizophrenia, perhaps. I was just pointing out a different possible motive. Maybe a lot of these people aren't actually as batshit crazy as one might think. A belief isn't a mental illness. Sometimes they can come from mental illnesses. But a belief in itself is not a mental illness. Flat earth believers are just ignorant, and ignorance isn't a clinically diagnosable mental illness. The word belief got me thinking. There is about enough evidence for a flat earth as there is for just about any religion, lol. A low IQ isn't a mental illness. Technically it is a disability, but you could also call it delusional, which can be considered a mental illness. Not all flat earthers have a low IQ. They just don't know how to determine scientific fact. Well, the Flat Earth Society have members around the globe. Had us in the first half. You can think whatever you want about Flat Earth. It's a free country. It's not a mental illness. Just a misguided conspiracy theory. I know, right? But this is the benefit and the issue of a democratic country, where anybody can think, in that they better believe. Otherwise, if you stretch your mentality and force what one should think or not, you go into a dictatorship. I'm okay for flat earthers and anti-vax, which usually are simply ignorant people and could get cured by a better education system. The same goes for religion. What if I think that religious people who believe in supernatural forces and magic should be seen as mentally ill people? In my little, I'm anti-religious, but this doesn't give me the right to force me on others until they aren't causing direct harm to me. Every election cycle someone trots out a study that proves conservatives are mentally ill. It's always disconcerting. For this very reason. People who are ducking idiots aren't mentally ill. Don't group mentally ill people with flat earthers. I'm not even convinced that anybody truly believes it. I think it's just attention seeking. Ignore them should be the policy. It's as simple as arrogance. Nothing more, nothing less. IKR, everyone knows that Earth is square G's. Thank you. We should be careful not to lead science down the same road as religion's absolutism once was. While flat earth is obviously bullshit, the problem lies with what other scientific consensus will be considered absolutely true, that nobody can challenge. Scientists don't allow that to happen. The first thing scientists do when another scientist makes some sort of theory or a discovery is heavily scrutinize it and, most importantly, try to find ways to prove them wrong. Flat earth is really more of an opinion nowadays anyway, and hardly anyone accepts it anymore. While flat earth is bullshit, critical thinking in general is positive. Some centuries ago, people would say the same thing about people who did not believe earth was flat. Actually, most ancient civilizations understood that the earth was a globe. It was only in the last 150 to 200 years that some psycho-Christians insisted that it was flat, based on one of those crackpot experiments run by flat earthers that they claim are scientific proof, but can't accept that they are both biased and also often prove the opposite. We see they don't understand basic physics. Screw that. That is all we hear nowadays, blaming mental health issues for idiocy or violence or any other crap. I don't really like flat earthers, but since we can't say that gender dysphoria is a mental illness, which it is, I don't think we could get flat earthism into the category. I thought gender dysphoria was. That's actually quite sad that something that causes so much suicide and depression is not counted as a mental illness. I don't mean being trans is a mental illness. I don't mean being trans is a mental illness. Back in the day, transgenderism and gender dysphoria went hand in hand, before this transgender nonsense starting catching on and being promoted. What do you mean by transgender nonsense? Most trans people do think they go hand in hand. I believe that it's just the loud minority who think it isn't. Meant to say transgender. Typo. Upvote because this is unpopular, but it's as equally as stupid as the flat earth nonsense. For me, it should not be seen as different as a religion. A paradigm is a paradigm. Until they claim that they are the brainwashing, government-controlled facilities that are there to make sure that everyone follows the government in their learning centers, like every film out there that has some similar concept. Trust me, this would make it 10x worse. B.it is FLRT look at TMYWI bed I alien KS as I get taken away in a straitjacket. To me, the most strange thing regarding this is that, unlike other beliefs like anti-vax or Illuminati, you can literally prove/unprove it yourself. You can go yourself on a trip around the world. I mean, not now with Rona everywhere, but you get what I'm going for here. Start somewhere, keep going east or west, and buy a boat, and you will eventually get to the same place. I wonder what will happen to these people when space tourism takes off, as SpaceX is intending to do. How will they react then, when you can see the curve yourself? Along with racists. You mean the majority of the world? Most places in the world are racist in some way. Take a look at many Asian countries. They don't even try to hide it. I think the impulse to eradicate non-conformity is far more dangerous. Apparently the best and brightest in the intellectual traditions leading to the formation of the US agreed. Individualism and the laws erected to defend it are defending it from folks like you. How's that feel? Like you're missing something? It ought feel that way. Because you are. Okay, I'm kidding. The right to exercise your own judgment is important, but that's in the personal sphere of life. The professional/expert sphere says the earth is a squashed sphere, and I'll go with that. You might actually be right in some cases. Frankly, oppositional/defiant disorder sort of works that way. It's a permanent attitude of no, but it's not self-consistent. I have genes correlated with childhood conduct disorder and general conduct disorder, but at least my views are consistent. If curated to be painful for most of you, I don't think a flat earther can necessarily always act on that pretend belief. People will ultimately behave according to what they actually believe, which may or may not jibe with what they say they believe. Oppositional/defiant disorder that exists? Now I'm curious to learn more. Are you going to force them into your clinic? And have people as well? And conspiracy theorists? What about others who don't agree with insert thing here? Plus doing so would only reassure their beliefs, saying they are being censored/silenced, so it's counterproductive as well. It seems to me that conspiracy theorists in general have high levels of narcissistic tendencies and often narcissistic personality disorder. They can't handle that they aren't intelligent enough to be seen as intellectual, so they create a world in their mind where they are a genius that understands a great secret and everyone else is too stupid and beneath them to understand. Only they are clever enough to know the truth. I've met a small handful of conspiracy theorists and I have to say your comment seems pretty spot on. Being a narcissist doesn't prevent you from being intelligent. Lol, depends on the level of their narcissism. No matter how strange and contrary to normality a belief might be, if you value free speech and democracy then you absolutely won't want flat earthers to be classed as mentally ill. No one should be given a label like mentally ill merely for a belief they hold. People are allowed to be stupid. Yeah, it'd work for anti-vaxxers as well. Better than. Removed. I'm sorry if I'm coming on too strong, but I find denying something preschoolers learn, and physics involving that information till they're in college, ridiculous. I know the earth is round and I believe in vaccines, but if you listen to everything school tells you without finding things out for yourself then you are just as bad if not worse than a flat earther or an anti-vaxxer, because at least they came up with those thoughts on their own. Nah, it'll just end up giving fools undeserved welfare. Lol. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.